Today I would like to talk about probably one of the most problematic Pokemon in the Gen 9 overuse tier as of right now, Alolan Ninetales. Now Alolan Ninetales has returned Pokemon Scarlet and Violet with the Teal Mask DLC. I'm pretty sure it's a Pokemon home transfer only though, for those of you that play in-game. But yeah, this Pokemon has returned and it has proven to be incredible in competitive singles, which should not be that surprising considering it was pretty good in previous generations, like in Gen 8. It literally does the same thing in Gen 9, but I would say it's even better in Gen 9 just because of how the meta is. Now, we're gonna go over Alolan Ninetales, what makes it so good, why it's problematic, ways you can potentially counter it, and what it enables. Now, Alolan Ninetales, you might look at its stats, we got them right here, and you'd be like, this Pokemon is trash, there ain't no way. But this Pokemon is not a offensive threat. I would not recommend using this as a offensive Pokemon. You will want to be using this Pokemon as a supportive Pokemon. That is where its true potential lies. Now, one of Alolan Ninetales' biggest strengths, I should say, is the ability Snow Warning in combination with Auroraville, with the move Auroraville. The Snow Warning, of course, it sets up the snow when this Pokemon switches in. And this Pokemon has Auroraville. Now, Auroraville is a combination of the moves Reflect and Light Screen, but you can only use this if snow is up. It says right there, for 5 turns, damage to allies is halved, but only when snow is up. Now, we have seen in the past how good Reflect plus Light Screen, or Dual Screens as this is referred to, can be, and how much it enables certain Pokemon to just easily set up a sweep and walk away with the entire game. After Pokemon Home compatibility was available, Light Clay was even voted on twice, if I remember correctly, for a potential quick ban, the item Light Clay. Now, if you don't know what Light Clay does, Light Clay extends the turns of Reflect, Light Screen, and Auroraville. So it goes from 5 turns to 8. Now, it enabled a lot. It didn't get banned, and eventually the hype died down after certain Pokemon got banned. But now, Alolan Ninetales is showing why this item in combination with screens was so potent in the first place. Now, Reflect plus Light Screen, like I said, it's not that hard to set up. It was very good. Main users were Dragapult and Grimmsnarl, as they are very fast and have Prankster to set them up, respectively. But one of the drawbacks of that is you have to use 2 turns to do that. Not with Alolan Ninetales, because Auroraville only takes 1 turn. That's already a big deal, because you only need 1 turn, which means you are, first of all, wasting less turns, obviously, but it also means you're wasting less turns of your screens. Now with Light Screen you get 8 turns, 7 turns, because you want the turn that you set it up also counts, then you have to switch it out. That's also a turn. But yeah, this Pokemon is very fast. It has a 109 base speed tier, which is very fast in the tier. There are not a lot of Pokemon that can outspeed it and actually threaten it back. So that's a very good speed tier to have. This Pokemon is also not that frail. It has some good bulk to it, especially if you invest in HP, which you would always want to do, because you're not aiming to deal damage with this Pokemon, but only to set up the screen, so that's your main purpose. Now, aside from Auroraville, this Pokemon also has other great utility moves like Encore. Encore is a staple on this Pokemon, I would say, because with Encore, you are very hard to take advantage of. Maybe they predict your Ninetales Alolan lead or something like that, and they just want to use it as setup fodder. With Encore, you cannot do that. And since Alolan Ninetales is so fast, it will probably get that Encore off if a slower Pokemon sets up a Swords Dance or something, which means they are now locked into Swords Dance while you are freely setting up that Auroraville and getting in your threat. This Pokemon also has Hypnosis, which isn't the most reliable move, but it can be quite useful to sleep something that is either a big threat to your team, or maybe they want to prevent you from setting up screens or get rid of your screens. Hypnosis can help with that. You have Freeze Dry as an option to at least deal some damage. You don't want to have no offensive pressure, because that's not ideal, as you are very passive in that case. This allows it to threaten some Pokemon that are 4 types weak to ice, as well as some water types with Freeze Dry. Another option over Hypnosis is Snowscape. Now, why would you want to use Snowscape when you're already setting up the snow with Snow Warning? Well, Snowscape is very good against teams that also have a weather ability. For example, if you're facing a Sun team or a Rain team, they can prevent Ninetales from setting up Auroraville. Ninetales is faster, which means that if you were to lead with Ninetales and they were to lead with Pelipper or Torkoal, Ninetales Snow Warning would go first. So Snow goes up first, and after that the Rain or the Sun would go up, which means you have no Snow and you have no Auroraville. Then you use Snowscape to change the weather back to snow and get your Auroraville up. Freeze Dry is also nice, as you could threaten Pelipper with a 1-hit KO and get rid of that Rain right away, which means you will win the weather war and have a very good position, and you probably will win the game after that. Now, there are some Pokemon that can threaten Ninetales. Some Pokemon that might come to mind are Steel types and Fire types. For example, Golden is quite an effective lead against Alolan Ninetales. Now, it doesn't outspeed Ninetales because, well, it doesn't outspeed. It's slower. However, Make It Rain will one-shot Ninetales Alolan even through Auroraville. So it might get up the Auroraville, but at least it's dead and it cannot get it up again. Especially if you're using Scarf Golden, you will be able to outspeed it and prevent Ninetales Alolan from getting that Auroraville altogether. Now, Alolan Ninetales does have some counterplay against these Fire and Steel types. We're going to go over more of those in a sec, but just to mention it, Terra Water is incredible on Ninetales Alolan. Allows you to resist the Fire and Steel moves, which means if they do decide to lead with Golden for example, you can go Terra Water, take pretty much nothing for Make It Rain, you get your fill up, and you just go about your day. It does cost you a Terra though, but if you don't really need a Terra on one of your teammates, it is a worthwhile option. It also, very important, is it removes your Stealth Rock weakness, which can be quite annoying if you're trying to get up screens again later in the match. Now, aside from Golden other effective leads are King Gambit. Although King Gambit does not one-shot Ninetales Alolan through screens, even with Iron Head. The reason for that is if Alolan Ninetales gets up Auroraville, and it has the Snow Warning defense boost, because Ice types get a defense boost, of course, when Snow is up. So you have Ninetales has that defense boost and the Auroraville boost, which means Iron Head from King Gambit will not one-shot a neutral damage. So you have to be careful of that if you do lead with King Gambit. Also, don't forget, you cannot set up with Swords Dance. With Golden it's a little different story because it cannot be encored or hit by Hypnosis, so it's probably one of the most effective leads. King Gambit is also an option. Another very effective lead, anti-lead I should say, is Cinderace. Cinderace is faster, and it can hit Alolan Ninetales with a super effective Pyro Ball. Now, it will not one-shot Alolan Ninetales because of the defense boost it gains from Snow, but it does some significant damage, about 70% if I'm not mistaken. And, very important, Cinderace of course has that Core Change move, which is quite effective at countering Alolan Ninetales. If Alolan Ninetales does get up the Veil, you can just Core Change that and now you have your own Veil. The worst case scenario, they predict that you go for that and they get up Veil again, but now you're at even match. You have Veil and they have Veil. So it's an even matchup. So I would say Cinderace and Golden probably two of the most effective leads. Other leads are Ogerpon, and specifically Ogerpon Heart Flame or Ogerpon Cornerstone, although Heart Flame is quite broken right now. So it's probably gonna be Ogerpon hard claim if you do decide to use this. This Pokemon, of course, it's faster. Slightly faster, 110. With the Alolan Ninetales is 1.9. It has a fire typing with Ivy Cudgel. You will be able to one-shot Alolan Ninetales. I'm like pretty much certain of that. Actually, I just did the calc. It has a chance to one-shot, but you will not be able to one-shot it guaranteed. However, it's still faster, so you will get a lot of damage off. It's a potential lead if you don't have a better option. Aside from that, Heatran might be a decent lead. Heatran can go for Magma Storm and trap Alolan Ninetales, which means it does get a fill, but you are preventing it from switching out, which means you are wasting fill turns and it cannot do a lot back to you. It can go for Encore and it can go for Hypnosis, but it's still trapped, right? Although if you miss, you are in a very bad position. Like I said though, Goldengo and Cinderace are probably the most effective anti-leads against Alolan Ninetales, with Cinderace being probably the number one. Now, teammates for Alolan Ninetales. The best Pokemon to take advantage of dual screens are bulky Pokemon that are also quite strong and can use setup moves. Some examples include King Gambit, that is not King Gambit, King Gambit. As you can see, obviously King Gambit is the best Pokemon in the tier, so using this Pokemon will never not be bad, and it can take good advantage of the defense increases with great bulk, of course, especially if it's the last Pokemon on your team. It's great. Another very good Pokemon right now, Manaphy. Manaphy is also very bulky with its 100 across the board. It has Steel Glow. You can easily set off Steel Glow after behind screens. Water is also amazing defensive typing, so there's not a lot of typings that are gonna hit you for super effective damage. You do have to be wary of Ogerpon, but even through screens, that Pokemon does not do a lot of damage. Aside from these two, Great Tusk is a good option. It is very bulky on the physical side, sorry. Special bulk leaves something to be desired, but this makes it a little harder to take down. Other Pokemon you might think of, Zamazenta, goes without saying. This Pokemon is already very bulky behind screens. This was one of the main abuses too after the Pokemon Home DLC release, so this should not come as a surprise. Kommo, also a great Pokemon. It's bulky and it has the Clangorous Soul move. That's it, right? It's Clangorous Souls, Clangorous Skills. It's one of those. You can set up move. These are all great Pokemon to take advantage of. Screens, Garchomp is another one that comes to mind. Has been a great Pokemon in Gen 8 to take advantage of screens as well. But yeah. Also, a Pokemon that is quite good against screen teams is Dragapult. Dragapult has the ability Infiltrator, so its moves ignores substitutes and also Light Screen, Reflect, and Auroraville. Also, I forgot, another way to potentially limit Ninetale Alolan's effectiveness is using a Pokemon like Corviknight or Mandibuzz, because they have Defog and that can remove the screens. Because Rapid Spin cannot remove the effect, unfortunately, so Defog and Core Change are going to be your only options. The only problem with Corviknight is that if the screens team has a Goldengo present, which is also quite bulky and can pretty good take advantage of that, then Corviknight is useless against that. Mandibuzz, however, it's debatable, because this Pokemon has a good matchup against Goldengo, but it's gonna lack the damage output if Goldengo is behind screens. So even though Defog is a good option, if they have Goldengo on their team, that also goes out the window. I don't think it's broken, Ninetales with Light Clay, but it is very good and it can be quite easy to win games. Let me know your thoughts about Alolan Ninetales. Should it be banned? Is it fine? Should it be tested? Should it be looked at? Anything? And thank you for watching, and see you next time.